Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthfication Chronicles, and in the process of doing a previous video, I did a little bit of looking at Andrew Weissman's Wikipedia page, and I stated at the time it was a bit sparse. So I thought, I'm going to look a little bit harder and see what I can find on him. Well, I came across this article, and this is from back in 2017. And it says 2 defense attorneys from the Enron era filed a complaint against Andrew Weissman in 2012. Now, who was the head of the Department of Justice in 2012? Yep, Eric Holder. With the New York Disciplinary Committee over concealed evidence in the Merrill Lynch trial, the complaints of, and this guy, William Hodes, or I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, but we'll go with that, Sidney Powell, who represented a Merrill executive on appeal, went nowhere. Sidney Powell, anybody know who she is? Oh yeah, she is now Mike Flynn's lawyer. Woohoo, woohoo. And she has put in yet another complaint about Andrew Weissman, and it's for the same stinking stuff. He got off back then because of Eric Holder and his minions, but he's not going to get off this time. So, what happened to him? Well, the complaint was about him not turning over exculpatory evidence to the defense. Hello, haven't we heard that before? Oh yeah, oh yeah. And I mean, it was quite a lot of information. Now, it ended up in the hands of this Reginald M. Skinner, a trial attorney in Justice's Civil Division at the time, and the Justice Department, that's what it's talking about. And I bet if you would look at him, you'd probably find out that he was a die-hard Obama person. Anyway, so he rejected the complaint. Why? Because he said, well, gosh, they did in fact withhold evidence favorable to the Merrill Lynch defense, but the court also said the breach was not material to changing the outcome. So it didn't violate the so-called Brady rule. Yeah, that's not how it works, okay? The prosecutor does not get to determine whether that's going to be helpful or not. They just have to turn it over, and so if it could at all possibly be there. And secondly, they're trying to say, well, Weissman wasn't the person that was actually arguing the case, but he was the person pulling the strings of the people arguing the case. So anyway, that's why it was thrown out, and he was not reprimanded or anything. There was no disciplinary proceedings because of it. And it was pretty much just he got away with everything. That's the way the guy works. And so, yeah, it should have been investigated further, but they never did. So I'll leave all the articles down below so you can read them on your own if you want to. But I came across this blog, and it's called seeking-justice.org. And it had some interesting articles on Andrew Weissman. And evidently, well, first of all, Andrew Weissman was the director of the Enron task force. And then he transitioned into the general counsel to the FBI. Did you know that? I didn't know that. He was like Mueller's general counsel in the FBI. Anyway, then he went to teach at NYU, which is a scary thought because, I agree with this guy. We should all be concerned about what Weissman might teach his students. Yeah. So, yeah, take the guy that's having ethical issues, put him in a position where he can teach others to do the same garbage. Oh, frustrating. But anyway, he's not at NYU anymore. I went to check that, and these are the only 3 W's there, and he's not one of them. So, anyway, if you go on here and you look at it, it talks more about Weissman oversaw the Merrill Lynch prosecution, where his task force cronies, including the now, and this was written back in 2014. So that would be Obama's White House counsel, Catherine Rumler, plainly suppressed evidence that was favorable to the defense while 4 innocent men went to prison. Weissman resigned from the task force amid serious allegations of prosecutorial misconduct by the Enron broadband trial prosecutors. Now he's teaching law students? Well, there's another article down here, but it's one of those where click to read more. So I'm going to just bring it up in the other page. And it has this one here, and it talks about serious ethical charges against FBI Deputy Director Andrew Weissman are pending before the First Judicial Department Disciplinary Committee in New York. The charges arise from his role in hiding evidence favorable to the defense when he was a federal prosecutor leading the Enron task force. The Department of Justice is handling his defense. Now, this was in 2013, so this was previous to this article, the first article here. And a few months before it. And so it goes through and it tells more about what went on back then. And it talks about how they tried to excuse it away, and it's like, that's just not the way the Brady rule works. So, I mean, they had, look at this, they had actually yellow highlighted statements of key witnesses they knew were favorable to the defense, and then hid the yellow highlighted evidence from the defendants. And the new prosecutors disclosed it accidentally 6 years later. You know, this is just, ugh. So anyway, you know, of course, he took down the Arthur Andersen accounting firm, and that was 85,000 jobs. And then the Supreme Court came back and unanimously reversed that decision. I mean, but then it says here, after a partnership at the mega firm Jenner & Block, Andrew Weissman was elevated to his current positions at the FBI by President Obama. An unusual and troubling choice in light of Weissman's history of disregard of the special responsibilities of the federal prosecutor. Yes, by all means, let's take someone who's guilty of violating our laws and put them in charge of the legal proceedings for our number one law enforcement agency in our country. Anyway, it goes on. During his years on the Enron task force, Prosecutor Weissman was widely known for, look at the things, intimidating witnesses. Would that be like putting somebody in solitary confinement for virtually nothing? Hiding evidence and unethical and heavy-handed, if not illegal, tactics. As long as he held the power to indict, however, few dared to speak out. He repeatedly threatened to indict people who contradicted his view of the Enron cases. So, in other words, when the 17th letter of the alphabet tells us that, you know, Sun Tzu always talks about knowing your enemy, I really think they knew Andrew Weissman. And they knew Mueller would pull him back in because, remember, he worked with Mueller. He was the general counsel for the FBI. So, you know, he was one of Mueller's fixers, I would say. I think the 17th letter of the alphabet team was very positive that Weissman would be called upon to do this. And they knew he would hide things. So, a leopard doesn't change his spots. Just doesn't. And I think they were pretty sure that's how he works, and that's what he was going to do. So, anyway, in the process of that, I came across this guy. These people all seem to have the same names, except this one only has one N at the end of his name, instead of two N's, like the other Andrew Weissman. But check out the name of this company. Bronfman Rothschild. Yeah. Good. What is it? You know, I used to know this one family where they had 4 brothers that came over from the old country. And when they landed on the shores and they spelled out their names, they spelled them like the last 2 letters. One spelled it with O-N, one spelled it with A-N, one spelled it with E-N, and one spelled it with I-N. And so they all, technically had the same name. They were all related. But if you looked at them genealogically, they wouldn't look like it because their names were spelled differently. But I kind of wonder, it's only one letter off here, just an N at the end. Is this guy related? And what's he doing working for Bronfman Rothschild? What in the world? Oh, I mean, those two paired up, that can't be good. So anyway, I wanted to point that out to you just as I was going through because it was like, who's this guy? What's he connected to these 2 people for? So that's kind of the bad news part of it. And you know how these rabbit trails go. then I came across this. Solicitor General prepares for key Supreme Court cases. And I thought, wow, this sounds kind of interesting. Let's see. Who is this guy? Well, this was on the American Bar Association. So anyway, this guy is the Solicitor General. And he has some Supreme Court cases that are coming up. And I think you probably have already gotten wind of those cases. And he's already preparing for them because the Supreme Court gets back in session, I think, at the very beginning of October, which is not very far away. Was it not just January 1st? Does anybody else feel this sense of, where have I been? It is now almost October. Oh, boy. So, yeah, the time is getting away from us. It just seems like it's flying like crazy. Anyway, so this guy is preparing his cases for when the Supreme Court is back in session. I think one of them is going to be in October and one's going to be in November. And he is the Solicitor General of the United States. So, how did I get here? Really, I went to the Bar Association to see if I could find out anything about Andrew Weissman. And this was like the main article there under news. So I thought, well, this is important. You need to know this, okay? But anyway, the Solicitor General, if you go to the Department of Justice, the Office of the Solicitor General, you find out that this is the office that argues the cases in front of the Supreme Court for our government. Okay, so very important office. And it says the task of the Office of the Solicitor General is to supervise and conduct government litigation in the United States Supreme Court. Virtually all such litigation is channeled through the Office of the Solicitor General and is actively conducted by the office. The United States is involved in approximately 2/3 of all the cases the U.S. Supreme Court decides on the merits each year. Did you know that? 2/3, it's always the U.S. versus somebody. So, yeah, he determines the cases in which the Supreme Court review will be sought by the government and the positions the government will take before the court. So, he's the one that does it. That's why he's an important guy for us to know. So, I started doing a little bit of, looking around for Noel Francisco. I would assume his name is Noel instead of Noel. But anyway, so it says here, he is the person who he enjoys getting to pick the cases that he personally wants to argue before the court each term. And then there are cases he knows he is expected to argue, such as the 3 most consequential cases he will defend during the upcoming Supreme Court term. There he is. There he is. Now, what ethnicity do you think this guy is? Okay, just think about that, okay? All right. Because here we go. Yes, he is the first Asian American confirmed by the United States Senate to hold the position of Solicitor General. So Trump put him in there. Boy, for Trump being a racist, he sure does put a lot of minorities in different positions, doesn't he? It's kind of weird. Anyway, and his parents his dad immigrated from the Philippines to study medicine, became a doctor, and his mom, I can't remember what she was, but I don't think it says. Anyway, so yeah, he law clerked for this Michael Ludig, and he clerked for Antonin Scalia. So we're kind of getting an idea of who he is. And he was on the team that had to fight the recount in 2000 for Bush. So, yeah, and he was an associate counsel to President Bush. And, he's been around a bit. And he's appeared in front of the Supreme Court several times. And he worked for this law firm, Jones Day. Now, I don't know much about Jones Day, but they have a really nice website. And it's really kind of weird. They have like 2,500 lawyers, from what I hear, and they are worldwide. And the interesting thing is they actually have something here called values. This is a link on their website. Now, I don't know too many legal websites, too many lawyer websites that have a link that actually says values. I really don't. Now, whether they are these values, that I can't say because I don't really know anything about them. But this is the organization that this guy comes from. And according to what it says here, see, they have more than 2,500 lawyers and 43 offices across 5 continents. So, yeah, they've got like everywhere. But it appears they've got a video down here. It's 2 or 3 minutes long. And according to that, it appears that one of their biggest values is that they work as a team and they don't have a lot of infighting. That's what they say. Okay. So their values are that they want to work together and they say they want to do what's best for the client, even if that means they have to pass the client on to another person in the firm or even to someone outside the firm. That's what they say. So I'm not, it's a lawyer's website, so I can't say one way or the other, but I just have never seen one that said values on it. I was really surprised by that. And they do mention integrity, so I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. So anyway, back to this guy. He has appeared before the Supreme Court a few times. So, it's not like it's something new for him. And it said he left that firm to be appointed by President Trump to the position of Principal Deputy Solicitor General for the United States. And that was as of January 23rd, 2017. And he served as the acting Solicitor General from that date until March 10th. And then on March 7th, the White House announced him being nominated to the actual position of Solicitor General. And he was confirmed by a U.S. Senate vote of 50 to 47. So that should kind of tell you, 50 to 47, he was not well liked by the Democrats. But then again, who was? Oh, that's right, Rod Rosenstein. Yeah, he got passed on. He got passed on pretty well. And if you remember, those who follow the 17th letter of the alphabet, you'll remember Rachel Brand. Rachel Brand was the Associate Attorney General. She resigned, forced out. And then he became the 4th ranking official in the Justice Department. So he's kind of high on the ladder there. And it says here that he received an ethics waiver, which relieved him of a previous obligation to recuse himself from any investigation in which his former employer, law firm Jones Day, was involved. And, so it says that they're the firm that's representing the Trump presidential campaign in the special counsel investigation. That's what it says here. So could be interesting. I don't know. Sounds like he's an interesting guy. So anyway, it kind of recaps that here if you want to get to know him. But most of what's said here is what was said back there. So let's go back here and let's find out what are the things that he's going to be arguing, right? So in October, I'll be arguing 2 related cases, he says, about whether Title VII covers sexual orientation and gender identity. In November, I will be arguing a case about whether the government can lawfully rescind the DACA program that gives certain status to illegal aliens who came here as very young children, Francisco said during a question and answer section at the ABA Criminal Justice Section Southeastern White Collar Crime Institute on September 5th in Georgia. Okay, here we go. For the record, Francisco is urging the Supreme Court to rule that Title VII of the 1964 Civil Rights Act, which prohibits sex discrimination, does not protect gay people in the workplace. Now, I think that's really a poor choice of words because I don't think that's how it really is going to come across. I think what it's trying to say is that sex discrimination has to do with your biological sex. It does not have to do with who you have sex with. Okay? I'm pretty sure that's how he's going to be arguing. But it'll be interesting to watch this. He will be the one that's going to be doing the actual oral arguments before the Supreme Court. So there will be audio of that and we can listen to that. Then on the DACA, he's going to be arguing the Trump administration has the right to end the 2017 program that provided temporary legal status and protection from deportation for nearly 800,000 undocumented immigrants who were brought to the U.S. when they were children. So, in other words, those are two major ones that he's going to be arguing, and he's in the process of preparing them right now. So typically, the Solicitor General is going to argue the case that is most consequential to the government, to the administration, or just the most important issues, said Francisco, adding that he prepares for cases by arguing them twice in a moot court setting. But I frankly prefer to pick a case that I find interesting, but that isn't necessarily one that's going to be splashed on the front pages of the newspapers, which you know those two are going to be. So that was all at the White Collar Crime Institute. But anyway, I wanted to point that out to you because this guy right here, he's going to be trying to help Trump out and, you know, trying to stand up for Trump's position. That's who he is. So thought he might be somebody you'd want to know and maybe keep in your prayers or whatever. So I'll leave all the links to all these different things down below. But I want to show you something weird that happened. I was wanting a list of all the attorney generals because I wanted to make sure that it was Holder who was in there in 2012 when Sidney Powell was arguing, you know, that case. And so I put in, you know, U.S. Attorney General list. And who do I get here? Look, Jeff Sessions. Why is there still a picture of Jeff Sessions there? I don't know. Because when you go to the Wikipedia article, it has Barr. And it says the 85th and current United States Attorney General is William Barr. Yeah. So something really interesting on this. You know, trivia. This is a trivia thing. But check this out. There was this guy. Oh, where is he? Here. His name's Paul Clement. Paul Clement was the acting Attorney General for one day. Kid you not, one day. September 17th, 2007 to September 18th, 2007. And this was under George W. Bush. Yeah, one day. It says here that President Bush named him as the future acting Attorney General, and he was going to take office as soon as the guy before him, you know, Alberto Gonzales, resigned. And so on September 17th, President Bush announced that, oh, look, I got somebody new. Peter Keisler, whatever his name is, would become acting Attorney General pending a permanent appointment of a presidential nominee. So, guess what? Clement became acting Attorney General at 12:01 a.m. September 17th, 2007, and left office 24 hours later. So, I think he's the only one. I really do. I think he's the only one. But, you know, I didn't know, I guess, I forgot maybe, that Holder was the acting Attorney General after Janet Reno while they were waiting for John Ashcroft to come in. So I thought that was interesting, too. I don't know. I wasn't that into politics back then, so I really don't remember Eric Holder's name at all until, yeah, anyway. But I just wanted to point those out to you. That's a trivia question there for you. Who was the acting Attorney General for one day? Yep, that's him. So, wanted to point those out for you, and I thought it'd be interesting for you to hear that. But yeah, there we go. That just was one of those weird things, and this is a little oddity. I mean, wouldn't you think by now it would have updated? I mean, it's been a while, really. So I don't know. How often do those little spiders go out there and spider it? Evidently not very often. Hey, I wanted to tell you one of the reasons that you're probably going to see me a little more sporadically for the next month or so, maybe longer, is that I'm really trying to get this book edited. And it's taking a lot of my energies to do that. So I'm having to focus more of my time on that. And I really just, it's hard getting all the research done that I need to do. And there's so much going on. There were a couple of hearings last week that were doozies. If you've not seen it was almost a knockdown, drag out fight in the Corey Lewandowski one. And then there was the other one they had with Al Sharpton in it. Oh my goodness. And so I really want to put kind of clips together from those, but that's just going to take more time than I have. I don't know. I'm going to try to work with that and see what I can do. But anyway, I just wanted to let you know that's what's going on. It takes a long time for me to edit because that uses like the left side of my brain really hard when I'm editing, because I'm trying to form everything in coherent sentences and make them sound good. And sometimes I just have to take breaks and use the right side of my brain more. So that's why I've actually been putting videos on my garden devotions site, some of the crafting videos, because I need the two. I got to balance them out because I get very, very tired when I use the left side of my brain a lot. Well, either side, when I use it a lot, it makes me tired. And one of the best ways to refresh is to go to the other side for a little bit. So that's really what's going on. And that's one of the reasons why, I haven't been able to put up as many videos as I want on this channel. But I'm trying to build up the other channel as well, because if you've been watching my numbers, well, no, you can't watch my numbers anymore like I can because of the way YouTube has undone them. Well, I am now about 350 subscribers less than I was 2 months ago. So if that gives you any indication, I was at 50,645, and today it just went under 50,300. So it's 50,298, 95, something like that. I don't know. It just keeps going down and down and down. So it's a little discouraging, but I just saw SGT report put out a thing on their secondary channel, and yes, they're getting hit too. And it's just something that's going to have to come down to a battle, I'm afraid, because they're really doing a number on us. And there's no reason why people shouldn't be watching my videos. It's just they're not getting out there. So, how can they find them? There's millions of videos on YouTube. How are they going to find mine if the algorithm doesn't put them up there? So that's the situation that's going on. I know I really appreciate you guys because I have such a good, faithful core, and you guys watch my videos. I appreciate it, and I appreciate all the encouragement. Some of you send me some lovely notes in the mail, and, I've really appreciated what you've been telling me and the encouragement you've given me. So just wanted to say that. And I hope one of these days this book is going to be done so I can get it out. I really am trying to get it out before the end of the year. I'd like to get it out in November, but November will bring its own challenges, and I'll tell you about those more when I get closer. But that's the situation I'm in right now, and I'm working on it. I think you're going to like the book, though. I like it. And I have several done, but it's just a matter of making them readable now. I mean, everything's clear in my mind when I read it because I understand what I was trying to say, but I need to make sure that it's clear when other people read it too. So eventually, in about a month or so, I'm going to be looking for some people who might be interested in getting an advanced reader copy and helping me go through it to make sure that there's no problems, punctuation or things like that. It probably won't be till November, but anyway, if you are a reader, somebody who would like to do that for me, I'll be probably trying to get people around pretty soon. So, yes, stick with me. It'll happen pretty soon. So anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.